How do I double or triple my output? That's a really good question. You hear an awful lot, Dan, say, kiss a lot of frogs. You hear me say the same thing. You hear us say that QLA is in large part a numbers game. And all of that is true. But how do you know how to double and triple your output unless you have something to measure it against, to know what your output is currently and then what you have to do to double it or triple it? And so I want to give you a really simple worksheet that you can use every day to be able to do that. So take out a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, and at the top of it you're going to write what your objective is. That's what your near-term objective is. Maybe it's to build a board, maybe it's to bring on professionals, maybe it's to send letters, emails, cold calls to acquisition targets, maybe it's to interview banks. All of those certainly, or maybe it's to close an acquisition. So write down what that objective is. Write down the date, and you should do this the night before. So if I were going to do this Sunday night, it would be for Monday's activity. Then write down the 6 tasks in order of priority that'll move you closer to that goal. And have 3 columns there. Have 1, which is the task, 2, a time. So what time of day on Monday, for instance, are you going to do it? And then a last column, which is completed, yes or no. I would encourage you to sign that. I think that does a lot to make a commitment. And then at the bottom of that page, write down today's outreach and results. And just list all the ways that you are going to go and outreach to get in touch with whoever you need to get in touch with, whether that's prospective board members, banks, cold calls, etc. So those would be letters sent, emails sent, LinkedIn messages sent, voicemails left, phone calls made, gatekeepers that you talk to, owners that you talk to, and then write down that total of all those columns. Now all of a sudden you have something to measure yourself against the day. And then add a few more under that. New prospects, so you're tracking how many new prospects you got in that day, how many owner discussions you had in that day, how many NDAs you sent, how many financial statements you received back, how many LOIs you signed, and how many financial institutions you warmed up. So if you do that, if you take that sheet and you work it every night, and then that plans your next day, you are going to be surprised at how much more you accomplish. Why? Because if you're not working your to-do list, if you will, you're going to be working somebody else's to-do list. And I would argue that that's not going to be as fruitful for you as working your own QLA to-do list. So that's a really powerful tool, and it's a way that you can, in fact, know how many frogs you've kissed and whether week by week you're increasing that number and ultimately doubling or tripling your output.